Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I changed my chess legends down here to Vasily Smyslov, and so you know, he's one of the more known chess players. You know, world champion at one point. For those of you out there who are in-game aficionados, this book might look familiar to you, and it is Rook Endings, and it's co-written by Vasily Smyslov. So you got to be like kind of a diehard chess enthusiast, you know, really just to study end games in general, because I mean, in general, they're a lot more boring than, let's say, like the, you know, studying openings and tactics and stuff like that. But anyway, he is a co-writer of that book. So if you want to know how to manage Rook end games, definitely it's a good book for you. So we have the final game, the Armageddon game, between Teimour Radjabov and Wesley. So and up to this point, they are deadlocked. So all Wesley So needs is a draw. Of course, you know, a win is nice, but as long as he manages a draw, then he's able to, you know, advance on to the quarterfinals here. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we have here. All right, so we have a knight to f3. So we got the Reti starting off. All right, so we have d5, you know, many different avenues you can go in, with this one. All right, so we have e3. Interesting move, interesting move. All right, so we have knight to f6, b3. All right, so we have e6. All right, so bishop to b2, bishop to e7. And so we have g3. So for those of you out there who watch Hikaru Nakamura, you know, he's on YouTube as GM Hikaru, I believe. This should look super familiar to you. You know, a lot of times when he's playing bullet, he'll go into these like exact variations. I think more of like a d3 and e4 situation with a knight to b2 is what he usually adopts. But just kind of like a little setup. You know, in all honesty, it's a little passive, but it's definitely pretty solid. So it's not lost, but it does give black, you know, quite a little edge. Now, if we just actually kind of go back, you know, we saw e6 come up, you know, so after b3, it's probably just slightly better to, let me get the right move in here. Probably slightly better to go bishop to f5, you know, just so that we can try to get our bishop out of the pawn chain. You know, just, you know, not have the issue of trying to figure out, you know, where to put the bishop. And so we might see something like h3, h6, just giving, you know, the bishop, you know, avenue to retreat back to. We'd see d4, knight b to d7, bishop to d3, bishop to e4, and probably bishop to b2. You know, of course, you know, after c comes, you know, you probably want to push this pawn up, you know, give this bishop a good scope. But, you know, as far as black is concerned, I mean, they might want to, you know, talk about doing the e6, maybe a c6, queen to c7, and bishop to d6, so that they can successfully push this e5. You know, it would probably be a pretty good game for black. I mean, it's not lost for black by any means, but, you know, that was probably, you know, a nice little variation there that kind of overlook here. So we got all right, so we have castles for black here. All right, so bishop to g2. All right, so we got c5, we have castles, we have knight to c6. Another possibility here was b5, and after probably a4 you see b4. So you see we have like a severe clamp down on the position for black. But like I said, we have knight to c6. All right, so we have d3, b6, knight b to d2. All right, so bishop to b7, rook to e1. All right, so knight back to d7. So we got e4 and we got d4. So you guys can see that you know, white has played just like I mentioned before. You know, it's a pretty passive opening for white. So as you can see for white, you know, black has a little bit more space. You know, they're kind of coming into the into white's section of the board a little bit more. You know, it's not severe, but, you know, black definitely has a slight advantage in this particular position here. So we see h4, and we see b5. You see b5 was a nice little theme here, so, you know, it's picked up a little bit later. Not directly, but it's still picked up. Another interesting try would have been e5, just putting a severe clamp down on the position, making, you know, f5 possibility at some point, you know. So we'd probably see bishop to h3 and rook to e8. But like I said, we do have b5. So we got a3, just trying to make sure that we don't have any b4 pushes here. All right, so we got rook to c8, got queen to e2, so queen to c7, bishop back to c1, knight to b6, knight to g5, h6, knight to h3. And as you guys can see, the knight's not looking too great over here. You know, it's kind of, it doesn't really have that much scope. I mean, it could try to come here, but you know, e5 is just gonna knock it back to its home on h3. So in this particular position, the knight on the rim is grim. So you know, what is that thing? The saying is true in this particular position. It's definitely not the best place for the knight to be. You want the knight to be more centralized, you know, on one of these squares or something like that, you know. We have c4, and you know, if we back up here, another possibility was e5. Just like I said before, just clamping down on the position, making knight to f4 just like completely severely impossible. So we might see queen to g4 and a5 would come, and I mean, you just see that, you know, black is just severely expanding like everywhere. But like I said, we do see c4. So we got b takes c4, b takes c4. All right, so we have knight to f4, knight to e5, knight to f3. All right, so we got c takes d3, c takes d3, knight takes f3. We got queen takes f3. Kind of a curious move in this particular position here. If you guys want to go ahead and stop the video and see what Wesley So actually played, and you know, catch up with us in a second. I think a lot of you guys are gonna be able to you know, see this move. I don't want to say it's obvious, but it's just kind of like, I mean, it's just screaming to be played. So if, like I said, if you want to go ahead and stop the video real quick and see what monster move Wesley So smacked down on. Well, I mean, it's not the board, it's the computer screen, but let's see what move Wesley So smacked down. Go ahead and pause it and catch up with us in a second here. All right, cool. So for those of you that came up with queen to c3, I mean, it's just this is just pretty. I mean, it's like it's not so much pretty as it is like really bad, because white has just not developed their pieces like they're supposed to. And so, I mean, you got this rook over here hit, you got this rook hit, you know, the bishop, like, where do you put the bishop, man? Like, you put the bishop here, you put the bishop here. Like, I mean, I think probably that would have actually been better to just give the bishop away, because it's like, I mean, you're losing a piece. Like, a piece is gone. Just like, you know, just take a piece off the board like that, you know? Like Maurice does, and he's like, if I could just move this piece over here. It's funny. I watch a lot of chess stuff, and you got Maurice Ashley commentating. But anyway, yeah, so we have rook to d1. You got to save one of the rooks. So, you know, you just have a completely 100% free rook on a1. And I mean, for those of you guys out there that are mathematical, that means that's 5 points just gone. So just a 5-point donation. So we got bishop to d2, queen takes a3, and you know, I don't think anybody out there needs a computer to see how like horribly miserable this position is right now. You're down an entire piece, you're down a whole pawn, and it's just, I mean, like, I'm not a crier, but it makes me want to cry looking at the position. Like, I don't, like, let me flip the board around, let me not be here. All right, so we got knight to h5, we got rook to c5, so we got bishop to h3, and we got king to h7, queen to g4. Just hoping that maybe, you know, maybe Wesley So falls asleep at the computer and plays like bishop a6 and just drops checkmate in one. But you know, Wesley So doesn't do that. Wesley So he said, I'm gonna snap this knight off. So he snaps the knight off with rook takes h5. And so we have queen takes h5. But an even more monster move would have actually been in this position, let me get the right move, would have been g6. Because it's like, I mean, not only does that move block checkmate, but it also throws an attack down on the knight. You don't really have a lot of places you can put the knight. So you're gonna have to put the knight on f4. And then you'll see e5 come. There's just not really a whole lot you can do with this knight. I mean, this knight is actually holding this pawn down. This knight is adding extra protection to this bishop. It doesn't really matter what you do. It's going to be just completely horribly lost. If you, let's say you make the most logical looking move with knight to e2, you got bishop to c8. And I mean, it's like you got, like, what are you going to do? What do you do here? I mean, this bishop is going to get, you know, snatched up if the queen moves. You've already lost the piece. It's just like, I mean, you can't trade down because the rook's just going to take back, and you just got like, it's just a nightmare. Even if you just tried to go knight to d5, you know, you just take with d5, pawn takes, and then bishop still comes to c8. And it's just, I mean, no. No. Don't do that. Oh, man. Okay, so we're going back to rook takes h5, queen takes h5. And so we see queen takes d3. And so another pawn is gone. So we got 3, 6. We got 6 pawns for black, 4 pawns for white, and they're down an entire piece. Nah. Don't play like this, people. Like, don't. Like, when you're playing your games, be like, man, don't be like this game. Like, just remember this game when you play your games. So we have bishop to g2, queen to c2, bishop to f4. So we have bishop takes e4. We got rook to c1, queen to d3, rook to d1, back to d1. So we have queen back to c2. We have rook back to c1, queen back to d3, rook to d1, and we have queen back to c2, and we have a draw by repetition. Like I said, I mean, Wesley So only needed a draw. So Wesley So has advanced to the quarterfinals. So there's Jan Nepomniachtchi playing Magnus Carlsen, and then there's Hikaru Nakamura playing Wesley So. So those are the final 4. But if we just gotta go back real quick into the initial position with bishop to f4, you know, Wesley So didn't have to play bishop takes e4. He literally could have played like so many other moves. I mean, he could have moved rook over. He could have even moved rook here. He could have just knocked the queen away with this. You know, it's like you can just basically just take your pick. I mean, you got, you know, knight here, bishop here, whatever you want to do, you know. And so he decides to go ahead and take here because, like I said, all he needs is a draw. So, I mean, even if he gets into a draw, it doesn't even matter. So even when rook comes here, I mean, the best possible move in a position is going to be bishop to g6. And, you know, just giving away the queen and getting the queen back, you're still up an entire piece. You're up 3 entire pawns. There's just really no way. There's no way to win this as white. You know, unless, like I said, unless Wesley So falls asleep. So you probably will see rook to a2. You know, you see g5 coming, bishop back to d2, knight to c4, just being relentless. Rook takes a7, knight takes d2, rook takes e7, rook to d8, and I mean, you're just up an entire piece. You're up 2 whole pawns. There's just, I mean, there's no way you stop this pawn. This pawn is gonna start rolling. This pawn is gonna start rolling. It's just really, it's really horrible. Like looking at the position, if you were white, just makes you kind of hate chess. I'm like, I don't like it no more. But yeah, like I said, I mean, so Wesley So didn't have to go into what he went into, but you know, he's just thinking, man, I'm chilling. You know, all I need is a draw. I'm good to go. You know, he went ahead and just took the draw, and you know, shook virtual hands, I guess, you know, went ahead and you know, called it a day. And so you know, I'm gonna be covering some more stuff. So I'll be you know, as soon as they start playing this quarterfinals, I'm gonna be covering that stuff. I'm focused more on Wesley So, but if there's any other games you know, of other players that you like specifically for me to do, I'll see if I can squeeze that in. I just know that a lot of my viewers are from the Philippines and they want to see Wesley So that's what I'm catering to for the moment. But I appreciate you guys stopping by, subscribing, like, and throw some comments down. I did have a comment that mentioned me having the piece movement and the capturing and stuff. The game sounds a little bit too high, so I did put those down considerably, so it should make a big old difference. So, you know, my guy, let me know if that's good for you. And I will see you guys in the next video. All right, I appreciate it.